Good morning, everybody. It is so wonderful to be back here at the Torch Center for our Chumash study every Thursday morning at 9:30. I want to share just a thought on this week's Parsha with our friends online. In this week's Parsha, we see the two different worlds that exist. We mentioned this back when we spoke about Bereshit. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Why does the Torah tell us specifically heaven and earth? It should be Hashem created everything, right? Hashem created, we know that all of creation was created in the beginning, and each one got into its place at a specific time. It's sort of like a pregnancy, it takes 9 months, but everything was already at the time of conception. Everything was in a time of conception of the world, so to speak. Everything was created, and each one got revealed at its proper time. So we explained the reason why it says Shamayim va'aretz, the heaven and the earth, is because there are two powers in this world. There's the power of spirituality, and there's the power of materialism. And these are the two opposing forces that the world that we're in is constantly battling, constantly struggling. We're struggling between these two powers, between these two forces. And when we face our day-to-day challenges, these are the two opposing forces. We have the heaven, spiritual, lofty challenges, and the physical, materialistic ones that try to pull us down. One to lift us up and one to pull us down. We see this in this week's Parsha as well. We see that Rebecca is carrying two worlds. You have two worlds, two life perspectives that you're carrying in your room. One is a world of spirituality of Jacob. The other one is a world of materialism of Esau. And these two worlds are duking it out constantly. Rashi says an interesting thing. Rashi says that the hatred that began with Esau to Yaakov is a hatred that continues, a resentment that continues forever between the Gentiles and the Jews. And this is not something which changes over time. And it's a very interesting thing. We have a world that is convinced, just like there was a world prior to the Holocaust that was convinced in Germany, that was convinced that if we try to appease the non-Jews, if we try to show them that we're civilized, if we try to show them that we're educated, if we try to show them that we are wealthy and we don't need their social services and we don't need their handouts and we're contributing to their cultures, then they won't hate us. But what's interesting is that whatever we were hated for. If we were poor, we were called leeches. If we were wealthy, we were stealing everyone's money, right? If we were contributing to society, they didn't want us. If we weren't contributing to our society, they were hateful that we weren't contributing. Whatever it was, no matter how good or how bad we were, they always hated us. And that's in this week's Parsha. We see that the roots of the hatred of the nations of the world has nothing to do with whether or not we're contributing or not contributing, successful or not successful financially, paying taxes, not paying taxes, educated, uneducated. It's irrelevant. The hatred is there. And no matter how much, Professor Dershowitz was recently speaking, and he said an amazing thing. He said, we should never be apologetic for our success. We should never be apologetic for our greatness, right? This is what we're here for. God chose us to be a chosen people, to be His people, and to be an example for the nation. So why is there this hatred? So there are many reasons that are given throughout the words of our sages and throughout the insights of our Torah. But most of the times it's to keep us in check. It's to keep us in check. If we don't live up to the standard that we should live up to, then the hatred just grows. Right? Do you think we have here? We have so many members of Congress, so many people involved in the U.S. government, in the White House, in every level, in the Supreme Court, right? Jews. So we're contributing. Look at all the developments, all of the research, all of the discoveries that we have in medicine, in every area you can imagine. right? Does that help them love us more? No. And we can bring all the facts of all the great things that Israel has contributed to the world. Yeah, every phone. Yeah, if you don't like Israel, boycott Israel. Put down your phones and put down your televisions and put down your computers and your internet and whatever it is. Right? Why? Because it's all Israeli discoveries. I resist using the word inventions because nobody invented anything. The earwaves were around at the time of Mount Sinai too. We just discovered it now. They're discoveries. They're not inventions. You didn't invent anything. Even medicine, we feel so confident that we know what's going on in medicine. And I speak to doctors all the time. I say, do you understand really what's going on? They're like, no, it's a shot in the dark. We try it on 750,000 people, and we get 90% success rate. So we figured that this component of medicine will help heal this type of illness. But do we know why? No idea why. But we tried, trial and error. With enough trial and error, we'll hopefully get something right. But do we understand why it works? We have no idea why it works. But it just does. And any honest doctor who has a little bit of humility will say, yeah, we really don't know what in the world we're doing, but we're trying our best to figure out. It's such a complex universe that we live in. And whatever discoveries we do have as Jews, these are gifts, and we have to recognize them as gifts. But it's not a reason that the nations of the world are going to love us, right? They are going to constantly keep us in check. We are here to represent Hashem's godliness in this world, and if we neglect that responsibility, we're held accountable. And sadly, sometimes it can be very painful as well. Intermarriage hasn't either helped us. Assimilation hasn't either helped us. Right? When Jews were marrying out of the faith, we were hated. When Jews were married only inside the faith, we were also hated. So whatever you do, right, is not going to solve this issue. It's embedded in our creation. It's embedded in our existence as Jews. Esav soneh liYaakov halachahi. It's embedded in it. Now, that does not mean that every Gentile hates a Jew. It does not mean that. There are plenty of Gentiles that we know. Look, you have all these Christians united for Israel. They love Israel. They give millions and millions of dollars to Israel. It doesn't mean that they all hate Israel. But has anyone here done anything wrong to people in Scandinavia? So why do they hate us? Why do they hate us? What do they have with us? Right? What have we ever done to hurt them? Or any place in the world you think of, like these third world countries, right? They have a hatred for Israel. What's the hatred? Right? It's embedded into our creation. But we should never apologize for our success, and we should never apologize for being the chosen people. On the contrary, we should be proud of it, and we should live up to that responsibility. Hashem should bless us all, that we should always be a shining light to the world, to both in our morals, in our ethics, in our education, in our discoveries. We should always be an example to the nation of what it means to be Hashem's people, and never, ever compromise on that one value. With that, my friends, thank you so much for joining us online. We're going to continue with our regular Chumash programming. It's still not too late to come join us here at the Torch Center, to join us live. Thank you, and have a terrific Shabbos, everyone.